Migrants crossing illegally from Turkey into Greece are now being sent back. The one-for-one deal so far slowing the influx of migrants to European shores. For every migrant deported to Turkey, a legitimate Syrian refugee is resettled in the EU. So what does Turkey get in return? Well, so far €3 billion in aid and the prospect of visa-free travel for its citizens in the Schengen area if the country meets certain standards. The question over whether those have been reached has opened up a huge gulf between the Commission and the European Parliament. The Turkish visa issue was debated here in Strasbourg this week, with general agreement that the country is still falling short of the requirements.
The majority in this parliament has stated also clearly that we believe that over the last years, and especially if you look during the last 12 months, Turkey is increasingly moving away from meeting European standards rather than what one would expect from a candidate EU country is to move towards meeting standards. We have great concerns in the parliament when it comes to the rule of law, democracy, press freedom.
There are 5 EU benchmarks that need to be reached by Turkey on corruption, data protection, reaching a deal with Europol, judicial cooperation on criminal matters and new legislation on terrorism. Despite high-level talks between EU officials and Turkish ministers, some MEPs are up in arms about the whole deal itself.
I think that the best way forward is to put our own house in order. To solve ourselves that refugee crisis by putting in place a European border and coast guard, what we don't have, by putting in place a new European asylum system, not longer the Dublin system, and by putting in place also new ways for legal migration.
The German Chancellor Angela Merkel has been accused of literally rolling out the red carpet for Turkey in exchange for the country's help to deal with the migrant crisis. There are many MEPs here at the European Parliament who also believe it brings the idea of Turkey's accession to the EU a step closer. That claim's been dismissed by members of her political group.
She's really fighting for a good neighbourhood. She's really working on the issue and tries to convince Turkey, because Turkey is an important partner in the NATO partnership. Turkey is important as neighbor in between this area of Syria, Iraq, so crisis areas.
But MEPs sceptical of the entire European project claim its leaders are deliberately linking the migrant deal with talks of Turkey's EU membership because they're looking ahead beyond the current crisis.
Juncker, Schulz and Merkel want to allow Turkey into the European Union because it will mean cheaper labour and lower wages for workers in many countries.
Time is running out. MPs are due to vote on the visa-free travel deal on June the 28th, 5 days after the UK's referendum. The signs are it'll be rejected. Turkey's president has warned that if his country isn't given the visa waiver, he will end the migration deal.